We are here at McLaren headquarters, and let me tell you that what is inside is really, really incredible and amazing. And why do I know that? Because I've already been through it. But I want to show you guys what they have to offer here. It is amazing. Now, we invited the CEO of McLaren, Lando, Oscar. Unfortunately, none of them decided to come for us, but we're going to walk you through, and we got a whole bunch of awesome details on all these vehicles. Join me. And we saw the McLaren W1, and let me tell you, that thing is ridiculous. The rear spoiler is the craziest thing I think I've seen on a hyper supercar. So this is the man that made all of this happen, Mr. Bruce McLaren. And this is actually the sister car to the vehicle that he was testing and driving when he met his unfortunate demise. This is the M8D, and it was essentially McLaren's entrance into the racing world. Now I'm going to show you something that we learned a little bit ago, and that was that what they believe to be what actually caused his death and the fatality was a small little adjustment in the wing bolts right here. They think that something might have come loose or broken, and then the wing became out of control, which in turn lost the entire control of the vehicle, and that is what caused his untimely death. Interestingly enough, they ended up continuing to perfect this vehicle, and 12 days later they actually won the race that they entered. Pretty startling fact for a brand new company just entering into the race circuit. Cool little side note, McLaren is all about the Papaya Spark. My son over there is wearing the Papaya Spark shirt, and the reason why they did that was back in the day they had black and white TV, and the Papaya Spark actually showed up as a really neat, like incandescent white on the TV, and so that's why they ended up doing this color. And they actually did decide to make an M6 GT version of this. That was the very first road variant of the car, and they said that they built about 5 to 6 of those for actual driving on the road. This, of course, is a McLaren Senna. Now, they mentioned that this was one of the very first ones that actually came out during the actual launch of the Senna, and it's a very unique paint scheme that is clearly pretty impressive and amazing. They actually built it around like Ayrton Senna's helmet and his color schematic, and you can see that it makes it look kind of very windblown from the front, and then as you get to the rear, it actually has an image of him helmetless, and then on the other side with his helmet. And then as you get further and further away, the image actually becomes kind of clearer and clearer, and it's just really, really, really neat. And as you all know, I've had actually 2 McLaren Sennas. First one we wrecked. Second one is still in good shape and is getting a total engine rebuild, so I'm excited to reintroduce that with new turbos, faster, and amazing, and Sennas will always have a close place in my heart. Another neat fact is that the vehicles in here just regularly change. So what we see now and what you may have seen in the past on one of these tours is completely different, because every single day they're shuffling vehicles in and out, and there are some amazing vehicles coming up. So this is the closest that you're gonna get to like the 2024 F1 variant of what McLaren is bringing to it, and this is the actual color schematic that they use. You can see the halo device there. This halo device can actually hold the weight of an English bus on top of it before it's gonna break. They mentioned that the drivers feel up to 6 G's of force, which is even more than astronauts feel when they are taking off. And they also mentioned that they broke the record for changing a set of tires in 1.8 seconds, which is crazy. That is 2 times the length it takes me to bang my wife. And they changed all 4 of these tires. That was harder than I expected. Please tell me that won't be.
I zoomed into your butt when it happened.
And they don't just limit their vehicles to the F1. Of course, they have the IndyCar variant, same essential livery, but meant for Indy. Then we kind of segue into the current production vehicles or vehicles that they've recently produced. Here we have the McLaren Artura and the Pacific Color Stream. I was never really a huge fan of this vehicle, but I think it has a pretty strong follower base, and the color is pretty amazing. Tommy, I bet you love this color.
I do like this color.
You love all the color changing colors.
This on a P1 would be very cool.
It would be interesting. I just don't think we'll have one of those coming to the collection. This is the McLaren GTS, which replaced the GT. They stopped production on the GT. This, of course, is the new variant. I've actually never even seen one of the interiors of one of these. So, I mean, I think it's all just very, very similar. I think the goal is to try to make you feel familiar regardless of what McLaren you're in, right? And I think we see that with the Senna, the 720s that I've had, the 765. Now the 750 I have not had the opportunity to drive yet. Of course, I've had 2 McLaren 720S's and I have the 765 LT right now. And my gut is that it feels pretty similar. And this is the Spider. You don't see a lot of green McLarens, right? You just don't, especially in this shade of green. So pretty amazing spec. And I like that they got the green like piping and stitching on the inside of it. Oh, it's right-hand drive too.
Reminds me of your old Senna, the interior.
Yes.
Alcantara with green.
Look at the exhaust, bro. That's amazing. English breakfast comes with beans, so there's that. And this is literally the reason why I came all the way here, is because I have so much respect and love for the McLaren F1. This is my holy grail. It's a vehicle I hope to be able to bring it to the channel one day, drive, experience, beat. When I sell my business, I think we'll get there. So basically in 1988, they won 15 out of 16 races, and because they didn't win that 16th, they lost it to Ferrari actually on their home turf. They decided that they wanted to go ahead and build a big FU car, I guess, to Ferrari to show them that they can do it better. So the F1 was essentially born. And the 3-seater concept was something that Gordon Murray himself, that was his concept, his idea, and he sold it to McLaren at the time so that they could develop this. And lo and behold, McLaren built the very first $1 million supercar that was brought into the world. And I appreciate them for doing that, because there is just such a grand difference between a $1 million supercar and the $300,000 supercar. And this actual car right here set the world speed record. They're gonna let me open it up. And it set the world speed record at 241 miles an hour. And this is a BMW V12 that's naturally aspirated. So there's no turbo, there is no electric motors helping this. So I don't know that there's a motor today without the assistance of that stuff that can get that fast. So crazy for a vehicle that's 30 plus years old at this point. I've always wanted a 3-car seating arrangement too, so that I can have each of my boys next to me. It just would be fun. And it'd be a unique experience being able to drive a 3-seater car where you're just right in the middle, best access viewpoints of the road. Yes, one day. Whoa, that's not the one. My bad. It's nerve-wracking. And all of this is actual gold, real life gold. Pretty amazing. Look at this. Look at the exhaust on it. Like, this is just, this thing looks like showroom, like it hasn't ever been driven. So beat Ferrari they did when this thing came out, and beat them hard they did indeed. They actually made 106 in total, because there were variants that were not road legal, essentially. Speaking of which is the F1 GTR right here. So the story goes that they were talked into building like a race variant of the F1, even though it was already pretty much a race car, but one that they can actually compete with. And so they built the F1 GTR right there and entered it in Le Mans. And in the very, very first race that they ever entered in, they won 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 13th place, which is completely crazy and just testimony to the amazing car that these guys built. I mean, that is wiping the floor clean. No competition in that one. And then they took the race variant and then made the essential road variant of that. So you had road variant, race variant of that wasn't road variant, and then road variant of the race variant that wasn't road variant, but now this one is road variant. So this was the LM. They made 5 of these, and this is actually street legal. You can go drive this. Still 5 exist in the world. And McLaren actually still services all their F1s here at the MSO operation. So even though this vehicle is 30 years old, you can still have them serviced and taken care of. And then a lot of automotive enthusiasts believe this vehicle to be the best vehicle ever made in the history of vehicles. And not to outdo themselves, but McLaren decided in 1997 to build a long-tail variant. Now this long-tail F1 is actually the father figure to all the other long-tail vehicles that McLaren has built along the way now, but this was the first. And they entered this into the GT1 class race, and they were 30 laps ahead of the second place car. That is, how is that even possible? What an impeccable, immaculate, amazing machine that they built. We finally get to loop back around to a car that I have owned. We haven't been to one that I've owned since the McLaren Senna early in the beginning. This is the P1 and the GTR variant of that. The GTR is very, very different. The way they mount the mirrors, the way that the windows are. I mean, essentially it's a track-ready version of this vehicle. And the P1 that I had before was already very firm and aggressive and felt like it was specifically oriented for the track. So I can't imagine how aggressive this one is. Of course, I did like a lot about my P1. It sounded amazing. It was very, very quick, but there were some just little nuances about it that I couldn't couldn't jive with and ultimately couldn't keep it. Let me point something else out. I promise it wasn't me that drove this, even though there is a curbed wheel in there. I had nothing. Usually I have something to do with that, but I had nothing to do with that one. Crazy fact about this is that the MP412C, which was kind of their first mass-produced car that they used their own technology and drivetrain and engine with, was only 2 years prior to this. So they essentially went from the MP412C to the P1. It's crazy the jump and difference and stark contrast from one to the other. And the P1 was actually the first electric hybrid combined with gas motor of the Holy Trinity. So they kind of set the pace with that in 2013 when they launched this to the world. And this is the crazy looking windshieldless McLaren Elva. I did have the awesome opportunity to be able to drive one of these back in Naples, Florida a little while ago, and it was a lot of fun. It was super scary because I didn't have the helmet, and I think I was fearing for my life about like rocks and pebbles coming up at me. They do make a helmet, I just needed to wear that. Next time I'll do that. But it was still like surreal being able to drive one of these things. I guess the way that they create the air so that it comes in and folds and then comes back up and creates a bubble essentially around the passenger, so that when you are driving, you don't feel the wind blow in your face. There's also a little device right here that pops up to assist with that airflow. And it's just really strange. You're going 40, 50 miles an hour and you're not feeling the wind blow in your face all crazily. I'm just a sucker for Golf specs. I think it's just such a beautiful color combination. I mean, maybe it's because my two favorite colors are blue and orange. That's probably why. We're gonna go down the stairs and we're gonna see this incredible, crazy looking Solus GT. This is a 5.2 liter V10 naturally aspirated vehicle. Now this was first available actually in the game Gran Turismo. And then it later became available in real life for, I think, around $4 million. Triple F has a really neat Golf spec themselves that we got to see in person. So I have seen one of these before, and that one is so cool. They have such a presence, and I have to show you the wind. If you look down low, forward, I've never seen this in a vehicle before, but you can see all the way through very clearly. And I imagine that this thing creates some incredible downforce and has aerodynamics better than most of what you can see. Now, there are only 25 of these in the entire world, and they are not street legal. And another cool fact that they told us was they actually built the original P1s right down this hall. So back in the day, or the P1 that I once owned actually was likely assembled or produced in some capacity right down this hall. How cool is that? So here are the F1 cars, the MP4 series that McLaren created. Now these were the first carbon fiber chassis F1 cars to ever be built. McLaren led the way. They were 18 months ahead of everyone else when they brought carbon fiber, and were laughed at when they did so in 1981. And then people realized how lightweight, durable, life-saving that they were. And then 18 months later, all of the F1 teams adopted carbon fiber. So props to McLaren for bringing a safer, lighter weight material into the world. And these are actually all like road ready. Despite them being F1 cars, they keep these things ready to go. So if they need to fire these things up, get them on the track, race them, these are all actual fully functional F1 cars. Like you can see right back through to these are not motorless vehicles. These are legit ready to go. It's weird to see a vehicle without a halo device, and it's weird that it took so long to figure out that they needed to use something like that to prevent people from getting injured from tires flying up, flipping. Of course, McLaren has this beautiful view. There are people just walking around. Like, this is where they actively service, repair, do all of their actual F1 vehicle production testing. Behind Tommy, there's literally like a chassis of their F1 car from 2024 that I can't even show to the public because it has all of their tech on it. Like, I'm literally just standing right there. This is all around me with this beautiful, beautiful view. This is probably the neatest campus and essentially production facility that I've ever been to. And then you just get dumped into graduatingly newer F1 cars. 1998 right here, 2002, still no halo, very early on. 2010, can you imagine just racing and having your face just exposed wide out into the open? That's, yeah. And this one was Lewis Hamilton's, right? Yep. And he mentioned how occasionally, you know, even though they shuffle cars frequently, sometimes a car will stay here and they'll just remove body panels and they may have to do repairs, tweaks. And so you can actually see headers just poking out of this F1 car and some of the internals and electronic components here. So you actually know what's under the body panels and you know what's actually powering this thing. It actually seems a little bit simple.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I like it. I'm gonna get one of these. No, just kidding. They're too expensive. The much newer variants with the Golf spec. Beautiful. The safety device. These are just, it's just crazy. They almost look bigger on TV, but they're still huge in person. It's hard to explain. They're just such a presence. And I get to see some of these race at the F1 event in Austin, Texas. And we're gonna go visit Hennessy, check up on our Hennessy Venom F5 that we're having built. Maybe it will be there at the factory, and maybe we can show you guys a little sneak peek of what that's looking like. Now, McLaren has the largest trophy collection in the world, and as you see it, that kind of appears to be completely irrelevant. But the funny thing is that they've removed all of their first place trophies. And we're not just here for the tour of this headquarters, actually. We're here to see the unveiling of the new McLaren W1. So hope to have feedback for you guys a little bit on that, but you can still see how many just trophies that they have despite them removing all of their first place. I mean, they have more than anyone else. This is so neat to see. This is crazy. The Lego McLaren Senna. It's so crazy. I've never seen a full size, like I saw the Bugatti, like I've only seen these on video, but that's so funny. They have real wheels and real seats, like you said, and steering wheel. Like, how do you cut off I love the shifter, the drive, reverse. Like, it's so funny because I have one of these and I know like where everything goes, and just seeing it in Lego form. This is bonkers. 2,700 hours, 468,000 bricks to build this full scale model. And it weighs 1.9 tons. Oh, there's more. I didn't even see the whole other side wall. Like, all I saw was that. They're like, we're gonna take out all the first place trophies and we're gonna have a whole other entire side. I didn't get any trophies when I was young. This makes me jealous. They didn't give participation awards back then, so I just got none. We just took the long flight back from London. We saw the McLaren W1, and let me tell you, that thing is ridiculous.
It's amazing.
When I first saw it, both my son, who's filming right now, Logan, and I were like, the front end actually looks a lot like the Rimac Nevera, which, in my opinion, but the rest of it, I mean, it looks great, but the rest of it looks really fantastic. What are some of your takeaways?
SF90, like the XX, the new
front,
one.
yeah.
It looks great. I like it. The side profile and the rear are amazing.
Yes, side profile essentially gives you the old kind of view of the P1, but with even larger air intakes. The rear spoiler is the craziest thing I think I've seen on a hyper supercar. It's incredibly active, very different. Like, there's nothing like it that you guys are going to see.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Speaking of shocking, what they did to the doors, I don't think McLaren's ever done to a door before. They typically do the scissor door, but they're really starting to pull from different manufacturers or doing their own little thing with that. So I think you guys are going to love the way the door looks. That's probably, even though that's silly.
A ton of performance.
Oh yeah.
The interior is super cool. They did something in there that they've never done before.
What they mentioned on the 0 to 200 times, I think it's going to compete with the Rimac. I need to go verify, but like, to have that compete with the Rimac Nevera would be incredible. Yeah. Anything else we're missing from it?
I mean, it should build it in a few days after this goes live. But
yes.
It is amazing. McLaren, you have outdone yourselves.
I'm
totally
excited.
Worth the trip.
And of course, I have one on order if I didn't mention, so we're hoping to see that as soon as possible. I think they're going to need some more money from me soon, but that's okay. It's worth it now. Now I'm ready to put down the rest of that money. So thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you guys can like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, you guys have a great day.